Hey all, welcome to Export Fundas. Jagatji, thank you so much for coming in.
Hello, Nikhil.
So, to all of our viewers, to all of the followers of Jagatji, one of the common, we typically take up export topics only when something major has happened. And we rarely get to, all the news happening around exports. And if you are following exports and the global markets, Jagatji, I'm sure you'll agree, it's the best reality show on TV.
Yeah, right, of course.
So,
Absolutely.
So we wanted to try out a new show which we do on a regular basis, just exploring the past week in exports, important stories which you should follow, and how you can take advantage as an exporter. So Jagatji, let's get started with our first story.
Yes, absolutely. And just to, Nikhil, just to share with you, so the last story which we did on, on Mole Biscuit, uh, that it
Yes.
was amazing. We have, got like 130,000 YouTube hits, and I have got so many messages of companies from India, from all over world, and very,
Wow.
very impressive to see the
Wow.
impact. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think a lot of the business would have been passed on to Anmol Biscuit as well, right, Jagatji?
Yeah, we are tabulating and will share.
Oh, wonderful. So, for everyone, the first story we wanted to talk about is the India-UK CETA, the basically free trade agreement, which is coming into effect from July 15th. So, Jagatji, I mean, this is something which, when the FTA announcement had happened, we'd done a detailed video as well, and you had mentioned that it'll happen probably around this time. So, how should an exporter be ready? I think it's a very interesting opportunity which has come up.
Yes, so Nikhil, this is a amazing, ecosystem which Government of India is creating for the entrepreneurs of India. When we say free trade agreement, I mean, let me share you, it's not easy, right? Because it's like a give and take, and every country wants to do best for its own country, and naturally within that itself there is a conflict because we want to increase our export, they want to increase our export, so their export. So it's a very challenging task, and it's like burning midnight oil and long hours of work. So first of all, I really commend the Government of India for this, taking all these efforts and putting that ecosystem. Now this free trade agreement with UK, which was signed some time back, but will actually get implemented into the customs on 15th of July. In fact, there is a flagging of ceremony on 15th of July from Mumbai, where the first lot of goods which are going to UK under the free trade agreement are going to be flagged off. Right, so it's a very symbolic day, and UK has been always a very good trading partner of India for, of course, many years. And uh, interestingly, just to share with you some data, so last year exports, like when I say last year, that's like 25, 26. So our exports to UK was something like 13.5 billion US dollar, right? And but it actually went down by 7.6% compared to previous year. Our exports went down, and import actually went up by 36% from UK and stands at 11.6 billion. And UK is a population of about 7 crore people, right? So 70 million. And uh, but this free trade agreement, which will get implemented from 15 July, is going to be a game changer for Indian exporters, because almost like 99% of our products will be attracting nil duty. It's a big thing, right? So it is going to give us a competitive advantage vis-a-vis our competing countries, right? Which is actually increasing by the day. So that is the benefit which has come. However, Indian exporters has to keep in mind certain procedural things. Like, one is certificate of origin. So certificate of origin is a very important point here. Otherwise, exports from other countries starts getting diverted through India. So that certificate of origin rules has to be followed, where either it has to be a wholly obtained goods in India, or substantial transformation, or regional value content, change in tariff classification. So some of these things has to be kept in mind, and this certificate of origin has to be applied in the DGFT website and through export promotion councils, and bill of material and manufacturing records also has to be shared, right? And these are all HS code based, and entry has to be made in shipping bill. So uh, I'm sure exporters, if they get in touch with the customs agent, they would know how to go about it. Um, but the on both sides, from UK and from India, I think this free trade agreement will be a very good benchmark, particularly also for European Union, because we have signed with EU, but that is going to be implemented, I think, next year, early next year, maybe January, because all the separate country parliaments have to pass it in individual countries. But from July to then, whatever happens under this free trade agreement between India and UK will be like a benchmark for to understand what can happen with other countries. So it's going to be exciting times, and our exports, I'm very confident, is going to grow to UK because of this free trade agreement, and entrepreneurs should take advantage of that in India.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm also looking forward to it. And if I'm not wrong, UK also has a very large. If you're an exporter who still hasn't figured out how to make a product for the UK market, but if you already have some good products for the Indian market, I think UK has a very large diaspora as well. So, very
Yes,
interesting opportunity for all of you. So, let's move on to the next one. PM Modi's New Zealand visit coming up. This is also another free trade agreement which is getting into effect, right, Jagatji? Very
yes.
interesting times for India. A lot of FTAs are now starting.
Yes, and particularly with developed countries. See, we used to have a lot of free trade agreements, almost 54 or 55, but all those free trade agreements were with countries where our trade was not much. So the interesting thing is that these free trade agreements are with developed countries, and it is not easy to get it done. So, yes, New Zealand also, and incidentally, our honorable Prime Minister is going to be there uh, this week, and it will be first time ever that any prime minister from India, I think, has been to New Zealand. And I mean, New Zealand it's small. I mean, country is like population is 54 lakh, 5.4 million people, right? So, Nikhil, you are from Bangalore. How much is Bangalore population, right? So one city. So this is, but the per capita income is high. It is a very high standard living country. It has high standards, and the friendship with India is quite going good. And but our trade is not so high. Our trade is last year we exported around $545 million of goods to New Zealand from India. And but actually, again, interestingly, just like UK, compared to previous year, last year our export to UK to New Zealand went down by 20%, right? So this is a very good time that this free trade agreement is coming in place, and entrepreneurs should take advantage of that. And not only in goods, see one thing, the free trade agreement are not just covering goods. The interesting thing this time in most of the free trade agreement is that it also covers services, including IT services and mobility of labor in terms of services, which was always a challenge earlier. Then taxation and so many other aspects are involved. And uh, I mean, China was very, and is also very strong in Australia, New Zealand, and they are all in New Zealand also looking for alternates. And I'm sure with this free trade agreement, even New Zealand companies are going to benefit, because you see, understand that even though New Zealand is such a small country in population, uh, it's an island nation, in fact, but they are one of the best dairy industries in the world in terms of production per capita plus value addition. So India is a big market, and we have to see not only in that but other products how New Zealand looks at India as a market, and by opening that, we are actually increasing our opportunity for Indian exporters to also export to New Zealand. And
Absolutely.
like you said, like same in UK, same in UK. So our diaspora also in New Zealand is increasing by the day. So diaspora
Right.
is very important factor in business today.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the next story. Very interesting comment by, I think, Mr. Goyal. Mr. Goyal, he says US trade deal will be done the moment India gets a tariff edge over the competitors. I think he purposely has said this publicly. Jagatji, what do you think? How is our Indian negotiation style?
Yeah, I think this is the first time I am seeing that India's negotiation is on a very strong footing, and we are not budging and under pressure. So what's happening is if you look at last year's exports performance of India with US, our export was about $87 billion. It's the largest country where India is exporting, right? And uh, however, it grew by 1% in spite of all the challenges. In spite of there was almost 6 months time when there was a 50% additional duty, charged by uh, uh, under the President Trump's initiative on India on several products. And in spite of this Gulf War and all the challenges happening from Iran and Ukraine war and Gaza war, and in spite of that, our export went up by 1%. Everybody was predicting that our exports will fall to the US. So that's something interesting. And at the same time, our import has gone up from US last year by 17% to 53 billion US dollar, right? And US is a large country, 340 million people, so that's like 34 crore people, and it's the largest economy of the world. So it's very important that we should go ahead with the free trade agreement only if it is going to benefit India, right? Otherwise, there is no point. What is the point to sign a, because free trade agreement has to be win-win for all, right? It cannot be one-sided, and that is why it is okay to take time. Our business is going on now. There is a discussion about adding some additional duty of 12.5%. Okay, because there is a forced labor or issue now which has come up. So these are all non-trade barriers. Earlier also the additional duties were removed by the Supreme Court in USA. So this also I don't think will stand the scrutiny of the justice system. But these uncertainties are going to remain. The fact is that I am not bothered, with this, even with this 12.5% additional duty if it comes. Why? Because even when it was a 50% additional duty, you will be surprised, Nikhil. I was looking at some data analysis, and in those months when there was a 50%, our export to US went down only by 27%. So what was the meaning of that? The meaning of that was 73% of India's export to US was not impacted. And who paid? I mean, we don't have profit margin of 50% in India in any business, right? So Americans were paying. It is the Americans who are paying. And because it's not very easy to change supply lines and supply chains, so Americans ended up paying. Even any more additional duty which comes on India, Americans are going to pay. So, and there is a midterm election, so I don't know how it is going to impact the whole thing. But it's good. We should have a firm stand on this, and we should sign it only if it is going to benefit India, right?
So let's move on. Again, I also love this sort of, Virat Kohli and not Rahul Dravid approach of Indian negotiation.
Yes.
So more aggressive, more, demanding. Let's move to the next question. So Indian exporters are seeing a lot more inquiries from YouTube, from US. It's increasing quite a bit. However, fewer are converting to orders. Why do you think this is the case, Jagaji? You think the US businesses are waiting for something?
Yeah, so you see, the thing is a lot of uncertainty, right? So there is a lot of uncertainty. We are having the still Iran war is there's not we don't know what's going to happen, right? Because every day the situation is changing, and the movement of shipping and the transport cost, the shipping cost is going up, and this I spoke about additional 12.5% duty. So in days of uncertainty, this is how the situation happens. But my suggestion to exporters in India is that I have been talking about it for 20 years, but I'm now saying that it is all the more the reason because now the change in everything change is happening so fast. Earlier change used to take a long time to take place, so we had time to catch up. Now change is happening very very fast every month, in fact. So either you be a victim of change or an agent of change. It is very simple. So if you want to be an agent of change and take this situation in your benefit, then we need to have bit of aggressive marketing in US. For example, warehousing. We should start stocking goods there. So then this impact of these kind of uncertainties will go away. On the contrary, Indian companies will make more money, right? Because the goods will be available nearer to the market under a next day delivery kind of a model, and quality concerns will be solved because they can check and take and the goods, and also the e-commerce benefits, payment protection will be there. Second is e-commerce, and with the advent of AI and ML and all these new technologies, now setting up e-commerce business and getting business is going to be very very fast. So e-commerce is an opportunity which is again connected to warehousing, and I think government of India is also working on a model where government of India will take initiative to set up such e-commerce, such warehouses in 50 countries, where Indian exporters can stock goods and do the delivery under e-commerce model. So that should be done. And third, very interesting is the we should move to a very strategic way of doing business. See what is happening right now. A lot of exhibitions are happening in India, and like even events like Vibrant Gujarat, right? But we need to start doing these type of events globally. We need to do, for example, Vibrant India in US, right? Because that itself will be a business for someone, but government has to create that ecosystem and the initial support in even in India. Like for example, in the food business, in many other business exhibitions are happening, and government of India funds the reverse buyer seller meet. They are funding the reverse buyer seller meet, where genuine importers are invited to India. Their air ticket, hotel accommodation is paid by government of India through the export promotion councils and other programs. So there already government of India is paying a cost to it. So why not organize our Indian exhibitions abroad and initially support it, but then it will be like a business. It will sustain itself. It will sustain itself. We don't have any global level. See, if you see in textile, hem textile is a global program. See, food, Gulf food in Dubai, right? Hem textile in Germany, retail show in US. There are all these global huge exhibitions. We should organize one exhibition outside India and large, and government should get involved. Our public sector undertakings can be part of it. Our ministries can be part of it. Of course, private sector, small medium enterprise, everybody. And first one will be a challenge. I still remember the first Vibrant Gujarat was a huge challenge, but look at what kind of a brand it is today and how Gujarat.
Jagaji, I think we need another podcast where I'm only going to ask you questions about Vibrant Gujarat because it's a
Yeah,
incredible
certainly.
success story. But yeah, what you just said, Vibrant India should definitely be, something. I'm surprised that we've actually never done this.
Yeah,
Forget about
no.
Vibrant India. We should be doing Vibrant India textile, Vibrant India food. For every
Absolutely.
category.
That's the aggressive approach we will have to adopt from government as well as private sector.
All right, let's move to the next question. Next topic which we tracked. So, government building export ecosystem to help MSMEs benefit from FTAs, DGFT. That was the main thing. Jagaji, you got to tell us because I think this is something which you educate a lot of your entrepreneurs on, which is what are these ecosystem level items which the government is working on, and what are a lot of entrepreneurs ignoring?
No, so I think it's the free trade agreement, right, which is being the ecosystem which is being created by the government in a very, very effective way. But entrepreneur education should be also done, that how they can take advantage. For example, there is some, as I said earlier, some documentation requirements, right? So you have to have your shipping bill written like that. You have to have certificate of origin. You have to give a bill of material to the DGFT. So all of this is not there. And then very important that you have to give that certificate of origin copy to the importer, because the importer is going to use that document to pay less duty under free trade agreement. So because the this transaction of duty happens in the importing country, so then that document has to go. In fact, in some of the past free trade agreements, a lot of exporters have missed this, and importer ended up paying duty, and then there were, a lot of to and fro and discussion. So there is this part which I think needs to be educated, that what type of documentation care has to be taken, and I think then it will work, and it's already working. Those who know, they are doing it very well.
Let's move on to the next story. This is something which I think will bring a smile to a lot of your faces, especially Jagatji's face. Which is Indian again, April, May 2026. Merchandise plus services came to $162.6 billion. Jagatji, your thoughts?
Yeah, so this is a game changer. You see, let me tell you, take you back to a bit of a historical perspective. So 2 years back, so that is like 24, 25. Our exports was $824 billion, right? And everybody was saying our export will fall, but our export last year 25-26 was $860 billion, right? It went up. Whole world, I mean, was under chaos. And in April this year, April 2026, our export went up by 15%. And last month, May, it went up by 11%, right? So I have done some calculation. If month upon month, if we keep growing by 10%, so far both months we have exceeded, we will touch $1.5 trillion export by next year, by March 2027, if we grow 10% every month, because it will be compounded, right? And even half it, make it half. If we grow by 5%, even if we grow by 5% month by month, so far we have done 11 and 15%. Even then we will touch 1.1 trillion, right? So that is huge. And we have targeted to be a $2 trillion export economy by 2030, out of which 1 trillion will come from products and 1 trillion from services. So it is important, but at the same time, it is important to understand one difference. When I said $824 billion was 2 years back, our exports, 437 billion was products and 387 billion was services. Last year, 860 billion, we did well, but we did not do well in products. Our export went up only by 5 billion, from 437 to 442 billion. But services did very well, from 387 billion to $418 billion, which is like 8% growth. Huge. Services. So services saved us, right? Our product growth last year compared to a year before was hardly 1%. So again, these free trade agreements are going to be a very, very decisive factor in product increase. And This figures which you gave 14.66 between April and 2 months put together is very, very encouraging, and it should give a motivation to Indian entrepreneurs and exporters that we should make a more aggressive efforts. See, even 5% growth month upon month is going to take us to $1.1 trillion, right? So that should be a real huge game changer, and particularly with these free trade agreements coming in place, I don't see this as a big challenge to achieve.
I just have a follow-up question here, which is, I mean, the export value which comes in, even with the dollar rupee getting affected, if it's so high in Indian rupee value terms, I think it would have been a lot higher. Or am I understanding incorrectly? Can you just clear this for
Yeah,
me?
that's true, but still, the point is that the product to services combination is a area of concern. We have to really look at increasing our product exports, because see, services export we are quite good, we are like dominating, but if you see last year when we have done $442 billion, China has done $3,800 billion product export, right? So if we are talking about China plus one, or if we are talking about with competing nations, look at the differentiator, right? So it is the product exporting companies, manufacturers, who have to pull up their socks, and government has done its bit. I really appreciate. It is not easy to get these free trade agreements in place. So now it's the duty of our entrepreneurs in our country to run with it and take advantage and be more aggressive in markets.
So the last topic, talking about FTAs, going into effect, Jagatji, which is the Oman SEPA goes live. I mean, key tariffs, concessions, market opportunities. What do you think?
Yeah, same. See, very interesting correlation. New Zealand population, I said, is like around 50 lakhs, or I mean something more, and Oman population is 57 lakh. 57 lakh, 5.7 million. That's it. Small country. But our our export to New Zealand was $544 million, but our export to Oman was $4 billion. 4 billion. And but that also, compared to 1 year before, only grew by 1%. But the import from Oman grew by 9%, which is $7 billion. But a lot of that is oil. So we understand that. So the point is, again, Oman has a very large Indian diaspora. Some of the top companies in Oman are, Indian origin company, of course, Omanis. And Oman also has now gone into Omanization, that they want a lot of companies to come and start manufacturing and, service sector businesses in Oman. So the free trade agreement is going to facilitate particularly the service sector companies, and of course the product companies also, because that will create a competitive edge vis-a-vis other countries. And we should again encash on that opportunity. $4 billion export to a country with hardly 57 lakh population is big, and we should increase that and make sure that we take advantage of the free trade agreement. And they also have a food security challenge, which they understood during pandemic, and India was very helpful. And we should see that how in the benefit of both, we should be able to solve that issue.
And that also tells you the potential we have in New Zealand. I mean, 10 times more export can be done to New Zealand.
Absolutely.
So, Jagatji, thank you all. These were the stories. We just have two questions from a single individual. Let's take them up. So, the first question, Bharat Dhruv is just introducing himself. His question is, what are suggestions to improve product quality, reliability, and low life cycle costs by exporters from India?
Yeah, so Bharat bhai, the point is that that when we talk of export, there is no question about any quality compromise, because if it is there will be no second order, and the name of India gets spoiled. So quality is the foundation of exports, and quality is also the foundation of brand, right? People say, oh, you need a lot of money to build a brand. No, you need very good quality to build a brand. right? So every big brand which is today was very small company one day, and none of them had capital to do kind of advertising and promotion, but they were able to build brand because of quality. So that is very fundamental. It's a given that without quality, and institutions like Quality Council of India, uh, under the government initiative, are playing a very important role of educating companies and creating those standards and reliability, of course. So this is what I always tell entrepreneurs. How will someone see? A lot of times entrepreneurs come to me and say, I've got a good inquiry, but they are saying, I'll not give advance. They don't give advance not because they don't have money to pay, but they don't know whether you will give the quality and you are reliable, that you will ship on time, that you will pack as per international standards. That is why they don't pay. So if you are able to convince these things, then it's going to be, you are even going to get. I know some companies who do only business with 100% advance, and they are doing roaring business because their customers know that what kind of quality they give over a period of time. They have known, right? And they started because nobody first time was willing to do that with them as advance. So they stocked the goods and they proved that this is our quality, and then the cycle worked. So that's how we will have to work on it. And there was another part to it, some low cost. What was that part? I forgot the last
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
Low.
So the question was how low life cycle cost. I think that's what he also asked another follow-up question about reducing expenses and improving efficiency. I think,
Yeah. So,
Bharatji, that's what I mean.
yeah.
No compromise, as Jagati said. You want to add anything to that, Jagati? No compromise here.
Yeah, so reduce expenses, improve efficiency are both interconnected. The moment, so I always say, my definition of competitiveness, I repeat, efficiently create goods and services which meet global market demand, leading to rising living standard for everybody in the society and sustainable into the future. So, efficiently create goods and services. That is efficiency, right? So, technology upgradation, material mix, the innovation in materials, looking at processes. Nowadays, a lot of AI can be used to improve efficiency as well as reduce expenses. So the go-to market cost has gone down now, right? So there used to be very high cost of doing that. For example, a physical exhibition would take, like 10 lakh rupees to take part. But now a virtual exhibition, you can take part in 10,000 rupees. And you can do 20 virtual exhibitions. You can take part in 20 in a year, right? So use of technology in not only in marketing, but in production, manufacturing, finance, HR, admin, everywhere. It is going to increase profits. So that is a very important point. Yeah.
Yeah, Bharatji says he's happy with your answer. Thank you so much, Bharatji. For all of our other viewers watching, thank you for tuning in. We want to do this every week. Let us know in the comment section below. We'll be looking forward for it. Jagaji, thank you so much. Let's keep exporting. See you all in our next video. Bye, Jagaji. Bye, audience.
Bye. All the best.